Rama is part of the dynasty, the solar dynasty in his case, that is quite well attested. Now here again, Indian rationalists are going to say, yeah, but the king lists of the Puranas, they're all nonsense, they're all invented. Well, in Egypt and Mesopotamia, they too have king lists, and there wouldn't be books about the history of Egypt or Mesopotamia but for those king lists. So it's only because of the disparaging of Hindu culture that they don't take these lists seriously. I mean, here and there may be a few corrections necessary, but overall, they're quite coherent and different sources. You get, different king lists, but almost the same. And so, in general, this is quite reliable. So Rama definitely existed. Was the son of Dasharatha, the grandson of Ajja, the great grandson of Raghu, and so about his existence, there's no doubt. About the chronology, there is a bit of doubt, but not very much. Of course, the traditionalists give extremely old dates. Yeah, they start with the Mahabharata, which they situate in the 32nd century BC, and then Rama a lot earlier. If you take seriously the chronology of the four yugas, the four world ages, then you're really in trouble. Because Rama supposedly was the Treta Thakur, the lord of the Treta Yuga, and then there is the whole Dwapara Yuga, and only at the end of it, the last generation in the Dwapara Yuga, you get Krishna of the Mahabharata, which means that the whole Dwapara Yuga is in between. How long is the Dwapara Yuga? Well, it's a very artificial system, these four world ages, or at least the attribution of a specific number of years to them. And so the classical Puranic version is that there are 864,000 years to the Dwapara Yuga. So Rama lived practically 1,000,000 years ago. Now that is nonsense. And it is also explainable where that whole system came from and how this mistake crept in. But so we need not, at least in this format, we will not go deeper into this. More realistic is the calculation that Jijit Nadumuri Ravi gives, where he says, well, Mahabharata, first half of the second millennium BC. And so there are different dates possible, and some people have calculated with all the astronomical indications in the book to specific years. 1484, I think, 1504, 1783, but it's that age range. Then when did Rama live? Well, very surprisingly, this whole Dwapara Yuga between Rama and Krishna is only 100 years. And actually, if you read the text closely, you even find the testimony fairly explicitly. You see, in the time of Rama's conquest of Lanka, his fellow Hanuman is a young guy. He's like 20 years old. And so, yes, he's very agile and so on, as people are at that age. Now, there is a later story where he's an old man who can hardly move. So it's like 60, 70 years later. And he meets a young man who is Bhishma. And in the Mahabharata, you get Bhishma as an old man. So between there may be at most like 120 years. So Rama is the beginning, the very beginning of the second millennium. It so happens that the archaeology of the Ayodhya site reaches about that far. So that could confirm it, although you must say that what the archaeologists have found is that there was a human habitation at the site, not exactly the grand palace of the great solar dynasty that you might expect. It is, first of all, not clearly the seat of the solar dynasty, unless new archaeological findings change the picture. But so far, you cannot go back to Ikshvaku and Manu and so on thousands of years earlier.
Right.
That's clearly not the case. When the famous archaeologist B.B. Lal met the sadhus to explain his findings on Ayodhya, he said yes, there was a Hindu temple there, so that they liked. But you see, my spade only goes back to the 2nd millennium BC. Now that they did not like, because they thought that Rama was 1,000,000 years ago, or at least several thousands more. So that turned out not to be the case, so they protested vehemently, and he answered, well, yeah, I mean, I respect your doubt, and so I'm not saying this, it's my spade that says it. Now, it so happens that this can be reconciled with the story of the Ramayana, because Ayodhya actually moves place a few times. And so the present city of Ayodhya was built by Aja, who is the grandfather of Rama.
Okay.
Also, within Dasharatha's career, he also moves the people around within the city's area, but still, you can see there is a very dynamic picture. Also, they had to be dynamic because the river has a life of its own. It shifts
course.
Several times. It also floods, and in fact, indications are that Rama died in a flood. So, which is a very human thing to do. You see, that's very typical about these so-called incarnations of Vishnu. You see, Rama dies in a flood, Krishna dies in a hunting accident, the Buddha dies of food poisoning. So it's all very ordinary, very human.